First of all, I chose this picture because I like purple. And I like the idea of data being structured, consistent, all in straight lines, everything making sense. And we all know in the realm of research, it's not always like that. So I'm going to talk you through just a few of the background for our business intelligence project of trying to identify how to get our data structured and manageable, looking into the architecture itself, and then going into Spotfire into the cloud. Put a couple of cartoons in, because I was approved by XKCD, webcomics are definitely my jam. So to begin with, we had a huge bunch of raw data, loads of different varieties, too much different data formats, different data structures, different metadata tags, what one department called device, another department called actuator. But it performs the same role and purpose, so how do we incorporate all that together to try to see how we can use that data across the whole of the department? My department itself is global technical development, and I'm in a team called Digital Data and Modeling. I'm focusing on the data side of it. What we do with this data, all this raw data, we do extract, transform, and load to put it into our data warehouse. So then we're all happy, it's there, we can access it in one place, and we can do cool stuff to it. We can extract information, we can do some forecasting, we can apply some analytics, and that is where Spotfire comes in, because we use Spotfire to make really cool dashboards to be able to look at our data interactively. What sort of data we're talking about? We're not talking about just formulation.
And you just ask the question, the extraction, the transformation is done using which tool?
Talent. At the moment. And we're also migrating our Talent to the cloud as well, so we're still going to continue using Talent. We're having to recreate some of the jobs, but Talent is our go-to at the moment. So our data as a whole is not just our formulations, it's not just a device development with technical drawings and characterizations, it's not just an analytics, so liquid chromatography, gas chromatography, solid state characterizations. We've got a huge bunch of equipment, both in our Parma site, in our UK site, and in other sites across the world as well. But we're also talking about data like our time cards, our project management, how do we scale up our process from something we do in a laboratory to a pilot plant to an actual manufacturing plant. We also have the mismatch of some of our data is GMP, some of our data is non-GMP, because we're literally just doing the research side, testing out new technologies, working out, do they work for us? So altogether, our business intelligence project was trying to get as much of data as we possibly can into one warehouse so that we can then use our on-premise database via our ETL, so Talent, and our on-premise database was actually Vertica. And then from there, we were using Spotfire version 10 to make dashboards. We also used other tools for statistics and modeling. My buddy in Chippenham used a lot of Python to do lots of statistics analysis with that. I'm more of an SQL person at the moment, so Spotfire is definitely my thing. Some of these names, a lot of them will be familiar, some of them won't be, but in general, you'll probably have systems that are similar, that do the similar sort of information, data collection. I'm going to talk you through, so I need you to use your imagination right now. So think of what sort of dashboards we created with this data. I'm going to start off with our Aussie Pi. Aussie Pi is a system in our manufacturing labs that has various monitors that monitor the weight of our product as it goes through the manufacture process. So we have the weight of a canister with formulation inside. We can see out of the entire batch every single weight that has been generated on the system. We use our Spotfire dashboard to make control charts to see, are the weights at the start of the batch consistent with the middle of the batch, consistent with the end of the batch, and do various other sorts of analysis to see, are there any extraneous data in our data set? Do we have a couple of cans that are out of spec? What's going on? Or is the entire batch within our limits? Woohoo! We've got things like our electronic document management system, which I think is called Hermes. This is what we use for documents, protocols, reports, things that we have to do control prints of, so things like risk assessments and COSH. And we use it for training as well, so work instructions, standard operating procedures, and things like that. We've got a couple of dashboards. One of our dashboards looks at our workflows within Hermes, so the approval cycles. You can see how many documents were approved in what particular time frame by what particular groups of people. You can narrow it down to say, hey, this particular document we've been waiting on for a while, who's it waiting on? We can look into a Gantt chart and see, hey, Amy, nudge, nudge, can you get on with that document, please? And stuff like that. Without ever having to actually open the application itself, we can do it all through Spotfire. Another of the Hermes dashboards is to identify, because it picks up on the audit trail within the system, has our analyst actually read the method before going to the lab to use it? Technically, they'll have signed off all the procedures and things, but we can actually double check what time frame between reading the method and actually doing the activity in the lab, and is that acceptable to us? We can do other sorts of dashboards. Our track-wise systems, this is what our quality metrics people do, is to identify if anything is out of spec, out of trend, raise a kappa to try to see of like change management control and see what do we need to do to fix this. It does actually leak into our Hermes, our document management system in some cases. Like if a problem's found, it turns out, hey, you need to update the work instruction. Our dashboard will show the time frame that's expected for this activity, and is that on time or overdue. It will show whose activity waiting on. Once the document has been fully completed in our Hermes system, our track-wise system says, hey, it's all good now. And our dashboard will show, like, hey, this many things were completed on time, on schedule, we're all good. We have our LIMS system, so this is used both for overall results and inventory system over in our Parma site. I've actually, myself, made a dashboard that looks at our specifications in LIMS. It leads to SAP, of course. In SAP, we've got our product codes as a whole. And then in LIMS, it says, for this product, for each of these materials, I have a set of specifications of what I need to have as the correct results for each of these tests. So my dashboard enables you to compare two different materials and say, are we doing the same test on these? Do these tests have the same range of results that are acceptable? Or is one test, because it's a recent product, and one test is a very old product, have those ranges changed at all? Have they become narrower? Have they become wider? That sort of thing we can all show in our Spotfire dashboard. We can also show, like, are we actually performing the same number of tests on this product? Like, this product going to actually clinic is definitely going to have more tests on it than this product that is just going to some stability testing. But we can compare that, we can contrast it, we can see what's going on with our data. In this very far box across it, so the other sources, we have our CRO analysis. We have our data coming in from our CROs. We update that into our database, and then we can analyze it in our Spotfire, and we can also do things like comparing stability data, so assays, comparing not just to our T0 data, but comparing to what it would have been like compared to a different batch. And we can see if there's some variation going on, or if it's similar or different. And we can do loads of different analysis going on. It's really cool. For my UK site, I've set up an equipment dashboard. We have an equipment dashboard that uses our ELN system we use just at the Chippenham site. And with that, we can identify, with a map, which room has what equipment. We can identify what equipment needs a service or calibration when. Do we have any calibrations or service that are overdue? Or maybe they're actually literally off-site being calibrated right now. for calibration and service, who do we send it to? And so that comes out with a big list, and it helps our facility operator lady to work out what do I need to send off when. And that is updated and all accessed just via our Spotfire dashboard. We've also got a Spotfire dashboard for our material on site in Chippenham as well. We can keep track of what's expiring, so we need to order more of it now. And with our ELN system in Chippenham, we can also have a Spotfire dashboard that extracts out like what's going on with our documents, what's going on with our experiments, what are our typical results for NGIs, juicers, all that sort of data we can get out in our dashboard without having to actually like dig down into the ELN system itself. So this is a previous architecture before going to cloud. Why are we going to the cloud? Because about half of those data sources, our IT people said, we're moving them to cloud. And we're like, okay, we'll have to follow. Because extracting the data from the cloud costs money, we want to do everything in the cloud, please, so don't get charged a lot of money just to access our own data. So we're in the stage of migrating all our data, updating our dashboards to look at the new data sources. And our silver lining is we get to look at, well, we have upgraded from Spotfire version 10 to version 12. We had just heard about version 14, but unfortunately it wasn't available when we needed to do our download media to actually do the installs, so next time. But there are loads of mods available with version 12 that weren't available with version 10, so I'm really looking forward to being able to play with those. This is a bit of a scary diagram, but it's basically what our IT and my department put together to look at how are we structuring this all. So we've got this here. This here is all of like the IT data gone into the cloud. And they're going to be sending over to, they called it our sandbox, so our play area. We think of it as our warehouse, our data hub, which is where we can then access our dash source with Spotfire. We also connect it to various other data sources, like we do have to do a bit of manual upload, like some of our equipment doesn't have, it's legacy systems, it doesn't have a networking capability, so we're stuck having to get a CSV file on a memory drive to upload. So we're still stuck with a couple of manual operations going on. And then you can also do things with, we have some clusters, so some lovely supercomputers to do loads of data analysis stuff going on. So that's basically the behind-the-scenes architecture of what's going on. To a simplified view, this looks very familiar. We're just moving our database to the cloud. Our database has gone from Vertica to Microsoft Azure. Still using Talend as our extract, transform, load operator, and our Spotfire is on version 12. Troubleshooting, I've got 2 slides here. First of all, the set-off and access and installation of the kind of the cloud servers themselves and sorting all that out. Big thing, talk to our IT guys, make sure they're actually on the same level as us, because they told us last year, yes, we're sending everything to the cloud, everything this November. We got our Azure started last November. They didn't put any flipping data in it until June. We had to pay for like 7 months of Azure subscription for nothing. So make sure you're completely on the same level and you just have the timeline sussed as to actually what's going on when. We also had some trouble with the installation and things because they were like, what? You want to actually like have access to these servers? I was like, yeah, I kind of do. Then we've gone into other issues like connectivity, getting connections to instruments, to actual files themselves. And there's always data formats. Data formats is always going to be a hiccup, really. And then finally, views. They only put into this sandbox and sending across the data that they were already sending across. There's quite a lot more data there that we really, really want to have access to. I keep having people with the dashboard say, like, why doesn't this show that data? Like, we don't have access to that yet. I'm really sorry. So we've been trying to tell IT, look, we have this long list of demands from our customers, from our staff that need to have access to this extra data. Please, can you add it to the views? So work in progress on that one. Onto my next troubleshooting slide, Spotfire itself. So, server installation actually went off pretty much without a hitch. Analyst version 12, local installation, so my laptop has Analyst version 12, I can log into it, it works fine, it connects to the server, eventually fine. Our server is over in Parma, so I needed to add .chiesi-group.lan into it to make it work, rather than direct connection, because even though it was a VPN, even though it was directly connected to our system in the UK, it's still not quite the same connection as if I was in Parma. The setup, fairly okay really as a whole. Our data connections, we're still in stage 1, reading from our old on-premise database and our external sources, because we're still working on the talent jobs of actually transforming our talent from looking at the old data sources to looking at the new ones in the cloud. What we are also planning to do on this is kind of harmonize some of our data. When this was originally set up, like about 5 years ago, some of the data fields were named what was thought to be a good name then, and actually thinking about it, we've got better options now. So we're trying to use this opportunity to just make things make a bit more sense for us. Functionality changes. We have had to update a couple of dashboards that use some Python scripts because the old dashboards used Iron Python, the new ones use actual Python. On the whole, everything just works straight away. It's been absolutely fantastic. User access. User migration was actually really simple, keeping the same settings from version 10 to version 12, copied it over, everything that works fine. However, our IT had decided, we want you to use a single sign-on system, which enables you to have a secondary authorization using your phone. So we now have to recreate all the users with a new system login, but I've been granted that access this week on, literally Tuesday this week, so hopefully we can get that rolling and getting that all sorted. Pretty much my final slide, just like what's next. We're going to get all of our viewers, send them the new links to where the dashboards are in version 12, get them used to the new library location. Everything else is staying the same as far as how our dashboards are actually stored, so the data structure. We have a library that has a data analysis folder, and then in it, each kind of data source. So whether it's from LIMS, whether it's from Hermes, whether it's from whatever. So people can easily see, okay, I want some Hermes data, I'll go into this folder. After this, analysts are going to update the dashboards. So we're going to update those connections, make sure they're looking at the right data sources and everything's happy. And then when NT give us those new views that we really asked very nicely for, we're going to make some new dashboards, make some updates to dashboards, and basically improve our Spotfire. And that is my end of my talk. Thank you very much for your attention.